Okay, Assalamu alaikum. Hope you are well, and Eid Mubarak to all of you who are celebrating Eid. Hope you are well. Let's check out who's with us in the chat. Assalamu alaikum, Ayman. Good to see you again. Jazakallah khair. وقل ربي أعوذ بك من همزات الشياطين أعوذ بك ربي أن يحضرون. Good to have you with us, Ayman. And who else? Power Boy. The regulars are with us. Alhamdulillah. All right. Okay. 2 with us. Down from the usual numbers, I suppose, but I think that was expected from when I stopped doing this weekly and doing it bi-weekly. Or maybe it's just Eid and many people are going to be busy. Okay, so what are we talking about today? I was actually going to, the topic for today was going to be something different. I thought I was going to finally get around to talking about the Sabat Ahruf and the recitations and the preservation of the Qur'an and the Qira'at, all of that stuff. Because I was watching, what was it called? I was watching the channel Blogging Theology, and he had my brother Paul. He had Dr. Ali Ta'i on, who was giving a presentation on the preservation of the Qur'an and stuff. So I was going to speak about that, but then I left a comment on it, and he replied. Dr. Ali replied to me a couple of times, and then I didn't feel right about talking about it until whatever whatever dialogue we might have or might not. He hasn't really replied or said much. Whatever dialogue we might have on there is done before speaking. Maybe he'll convince me that the Sab'a Ahruf are real. But anyway, so I was going to speak about that. So I'll leave that off for maybe actually during this week. So I might do another stream in just a couple of days. I'm not going to leave it until next week. So maybe in just a few days, I'll do another one where it won't be, I won't put it under the title of, of this series, the Caravan of Contemplation. I'll just put it something by itself where we'll just talk about the issue of the Sabat Ahruf to begin with, and then maybe talk about the Qira'at and other things to come along with it. But for now, let me put on this presentation, and just to remind everybody that the reason, this series is to really help people to encourage them to contemplate on the Quran, and it's open mic for anybody after I've given my little presentation. Anybody to come on, please, and share any insights that you might have in the Quran. And that's the purpose of this. I mean, we've been doing it for over a year now. If I'm going to be sort of more frank and honest from my end, I haven't really received that many. I haven't really seen that many, pieces of contemplation being shared from people who have come on. Maybe most people don't want to come on. There are some which I put in the comment sections, which I'm happy about. But really, the purpose of this was just to have more people directly by themselves contemplating the Quran, okay, and trying to, as it's open by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given that invitation. It's open to everybody, and the only thing that can prevent you from really, contemplating the Quran is to have a locked heart. Okay, the translations, yes, if you don't know Arabic, the translations can still be adequate enough. The light of the Quran isn't so weak that it is completely blocked through one layer of translation. Okay, you can still contemplate the Quran. Be aware of your limitations, of course, but you can still contemplate the Quran very well just through the translations. Okay, just don't get you won't be able to do some of the things which are the intricacies. You won't get into the intricacies, but you'll be able to do a lot, especially in a way where you can re-understand Islam in a way in which it should be, from the Quran first. Anyway, so what I'm going to talk about is the issue of suicide. And, some people have asked, I remember one time somebody asked me, why is it, it seems unfair that the person who has suffered so badly and been hurt so badly in this world, so much that they decide to kill themselves, and then on top of that they go to hell, right? I didn't really put the counter argument or the counter idea for that I have in this presentation, but I'll try to remember it. If not, please do remind me. But I want to talk about something else related to this verse. So talking about this verse, it's in Surah An-Nisa, verse 29. It says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تأكلوا أموالكم بينكم بالباطل إلا أن تكون تجارة عن تراض منكم ولا تقتلوا أنفسكم إن الله كان بكم رحيما. O you who have faith, do not consume one another's wealth unjustly, but only in lawful business by mutual consent. And do not kill yourselves. And in the translation here, they put in brackets, or one another. But we're just sticking with yourselves, the suicide part. It says, Inna Allah kana bikum rahima. Indeed, Allah is to you ever merciful. And it's interesting to look at the next few verses. And it says, وَمَنْ يَفْعَلْ ذَلِكَ عُدْوَانًا وَظُلْمًا فَسَوْفَ نُصْلِيهِ نَارًا وَكَانَ ذَلِكَ عَلَى اللَّهِ يَسِيرًا. This is where you get the idea, because it's not just from the hadith, right? There's a hadith which says that the person who kills himself will not enter Jannah, and he will go to hell. This verse here confirms that. وَمَنْ يَفْعَلْ ذَلِكَ, going on from the previous verse, even though the previous verse talks about two things, and we'll get to that in a minute. This next verse, leading on directly from the prohibition of killing yourself, it says, وَمَنْ يَفْعَلْ ذَلِكَ, and whoever does that, من يفعل ذلك عدوانا وظلما فسوف نصليه نارا. Whoever does that in aggression and injustice, then we will drive him into a fire, and that for Allah is always easy. And maybe I'll talk about it now, because there's a condition here, right? So those people who are in really dire situations, really oppressed and in just people who are having a really hard time being abused or whatever it is, and then decide they can't take this anymore and they end their own lives. That doesn't seem to be included in this, because here it's talking about وَمَنْ يَفْعَلْ ذَلِكَ عُدْوَانًا وَظُلْمًا. Okay? عُدْوان and ظُلْم. Okay? So it's conditional. Okay? It doesn't just say وَمَنْ يَفْعَلْ ذَلِكَ فَسَوْفَ نُصْلِيهِ نَارًا. Whoever does that, we will, cause him to enter the fire. No, it says وَمَنْ يَفْعَلْ ذَلِكَ عُدْوَانًا وَظُلْمًا. And one of the first targets of this verse, I would say, are those who are, the suicide bombers, those who would go into a mosque and blow themselves up, or a marketplace or something. Now, they really are killing themselves with udwan and dhulm against others, right? They are killing themselves with udwan, in aggression, and dhulm, injustice towards others, towards those other people who are praying in the mosque or in the marketplace or wherever. Such people definitely, okay, they are included in this, right? But it needs more contemplation, okay? What does it mean aside from that obvious example, okay, of a suicide bomber, okay? What would it mean for a person to do that, to commit suicide with udwan and dhulm? Udwan and dhulm. Could it be to frame somebody else, right? Like you suicide yourself to sort of frame somebody else, to get them in, to make them look like the murderer, or something like that. But from this, okay, we have to let this trump the hadiths which say that just anybody who commits suicide goes to hell. No, it's suicide with udwan and dhulm. Okay, that's conditional in the verse. That takes priority. But anyway, continue on. The next verse says, إن تجتنبوا كبائر ما تنهون عنه نكفر عنكم سيئاتكم وندخلكم مدخلا كريما. If you avoid the major sins which you are forbidden, we'll remove from you your lesser sins and admit you to a noble entrance. And this is one of the verses which I use and have used many times to tell people that it is not your beliefs or what you believe which enters you into Jannah. Okay, as we've said many times on this channel, Jannah and the fire, the hell and fire, are by what you do. The whole Qur'an is like that. بما كنتم تعملون. ادخلوا الجنة بما كنتم تعملون. Okay, by what you used to do, and we cannot let the hadith which says the exact opposite of that to override, the Quran from beginning to the end. No. So one of the ways in which God has promised that you can enter into Jannah, mudkhalan karima, is by staying away from the big sins. Just stay away from the major sins, the huge, big, major sins, and God will forgive the small things. إِلَّا اللَّمَمْ إِنَّ رَبَّكَ وَاسِعُ الْمَغْفِرَةِ, as it says in Surah An-Najm. So these are these three verses together, but there's a wider context, because after that it goes back to something else. So these verses, the verses which talk about, these three verses, okay, this first one which talks about, the one which we're talking about, do not kill yourselves, and then here it says, and it gives a reason, basically, threat, sorry, the verse 30 is a threat for that, and then verse 31 says, telling you that if you stay away from all the biggest sins, God will forgive everything else and admit you into paradise. But there's a wider context in this. These verses seem to be, they're sandwiched between sets of verses that deal with marriage, and male and female relationships. So if you go from verse 18 to 25, okay, or really up to 28, those are the verses which talk about who you can and can't marry. Up to verse 25, right? It's about who you can and can't marry. حُرِّمَتْ عَلَيْكُمْ أُمَّهَاتُكُمْ, right? Forbidden for your mothers, your daughters, etc. Those verses. Then it talks about marrying the مَا مَلَكَتْ أَيْمَانُكُمْ, those whom your right hand possesses. They must be married, of course, according to the Quran. And I put in brackets this last, from basically from 25 to 28. That's what we talked about before, how those verses are mentioning those who wish to follow their lusts, how they wished for the believers, the faithful at the time, to be astray, in these matters of marriage. And it happened, because then, of course, the Ummah went with this idea that you can have as many concubines as you want, and you don't have to marry them. That mulk al-yamin are not to be, you don't have to marry them, right? That you can, a slave girl or a captive, okay, you don't have to marry them. No, according to the Quran, you have to marry them. Okay, but that was part of those who الذين يتبعون يريدون يتبعون الشهوات, right? Those who wish to follow their lusts, they got the upper hand. Okay, so that's up to verse 28, and then you get the verse which says, "Do not kill yourselves." Those three verses from this into these two, and then after that, so from verse 32, right? So that's verse 31. From verse 32 onward, it talks again about inheritance, and then talks about solving marriage problems and divorce, and it talks about there's the wife beating verse there as well, right? So these verses seem to be sandwiched between these ideas, things around marriage and around male-female dynamics, etc. And the verse itself, verse 29 that we're talking about, it starts by commanding not to consume each other's wealth wrongfully, before closing with the prohibition of suicide. So it says, يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تأكلوا أموالكم بينكم بالباطل إلا أن تكون تجارة عن تراض منكم. O you who have faith, do not consume one another's wealth unjustly, but only in lawful business by mutual consent. And then oddly, you'd think it's oddly, it says, now do not kill yourselves. That's a strange place for this verse to be, you'd think, right? That half the verse is talking about, don't, consume each other's wealth unjustly. And then the other half is talking about, don't kill yourself. Why? Right? Why is this prohibition of killing yourself, why is it part of this verse? Okay, so that's another part of sort of like this smaller context. So you have a wider context of marriage and family relationships, okay, and you have this smaller context within the verse itself. Half the verse is talking about issues of wealth, and what that says to me is that there are two reasons many people consider suicide. So the first is loss of wealth; they've had their wealth consumed, and we see this, those who who have lost everything and then decide to kill themselves. They say, I've lost everything, right? So people who used to be millionaires and the stock market crashes, they lose everything and then they kill themselves, right? So their loss of wealth is extreme loss of wealth is one of the things which leads people to kill themselves, and it's often done by people eating each other's wealth, right? I mean, even these the betting on the stock market and these, dot-com bubble, all these things are happening because people are doing bad deals, behind, right, the monetary system. Somebody is getting rich while everybody else is having their wealth being, consumed. Okay, and then of course family relationship problems. That's another reason why a lot of people commit suicide, especially in men. Suicide is particularly high among divorced men. If you look up those statistics, I think it's something like 2.5, 2.4, something like 2.5, 2.4 more men who are divorced commit suicide than those who are married or who are never married. So it's a big issue. It's more than women. For example, women, when they divorce, there isn't this tendency for them to commit suicide as much as there is in men. So that's why I think these verses are sort of like related into that wider context. But what I want to talk about is something else, really, what these verses are mentioning as a kind of a solution. So one way to read the verse isn't that it is just issuing a prohibition, okay, but that it is also offering a solution, meaning an actual solution, not just a reason as it is typically seen. So the verse, when it says وَلَا تَقْتُلُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ إِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ بِكُمْ رَحِيمًا, that's a reason. Okay, the way that's translated, indeed Allah is to you ever merciful, that's a reason. Why shouldn't you kill yourself? Because God is merciful to you. Okay, so that's a reason that's given. But that reason is a very difficult thing for the person who is suicidal to see. Okay, they don't really see that they are surrounded by God's mercy, or that God is showing them mercy. So it's a reason, and it's something which is given in the verse, of course, but it's something which is, how likely is this to help somebody who is suicidal? Okay, you tell them, don't kill yourself, God is merciful to you, and then you try to tell them about all the mercy that they've received. Okay, but in their minds they're seeing, okay, you tell me this, but this happened to me, and this and that, and I was tortured, or this, or all of these other things, right? The reasons why the person is suicidal, unless they're a very pampered person, they're often very difficult things, right? Real things. But the other way to read it is as providing a sort of epiphany. They can give the person who is suicidal some new motivation for life. So you can read it as وَلَا تَقْتُلُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ إِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ بِكُمْ رَحِيمًا, with emphasis on the bikum. Do not kill yourselves, truly through you, with you, by you, Allah is merciful. Okay, إِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ بِكُمْ رَحِيمًا. Okay, that's why you shouldn't kill yourself, because through you, God can provide mercy to others. Through you, there's a mercy that's going to come into this world, meaning that through your life, through your actions, through your presence in this world, by you, bika, God can be and is merciful. Okay. Sorry about the baby. Hold on. Okay. And one of the great ways by which God shows mercy to people is through other people. Okay. And of course, the greatest of those are the messengers, and the greatest of them was the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So you have the verse, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. We have not sent you except as a mercy to the world, right? It's a mercy. Which is why the hadith of the Prophet contemplating suicide that's in Bukhari is very irksome, right? Could you imagine if he had, through whom then would this mercy come, right? He was sent as a mercy. Okay, so another way to look at this, right? Don't kill yourself, truly through you God is merciful, right? لا تقتلوا أنفسكم ما أرسلناك إلا رحمة للعالمين. Don't kill yourself, we only sent you as a mercy. Okay, you're in this world. One of the ways is to be a mercy. So back to the solution. So the person who is suicidal is usually only thinking really of themselves and of their own pain. Okay, they're thinking of their sort of like their vision is focused on themselves inwards. Okay, they're only seeing their own pain, their own suffering, all of that. So the solution, I think, one of the solutions this verse is given is to redirect that focus. Let them see the pain and suffering of others, and that they could themselves be a source of mercy to them, to others. Okay, and in that they will gain purpose and direction in life, which is much more fulfilling than the things which he or she has lost, and because of which he or she is contemplating suicide. Right. So if you've lost all of his money, okay, you've been ruined financially, or you've been divorced, or whatever it is, okay. Not being ruined financially and staying married, those are good things. But even in living a life of showing mercy to others, in that there is a different amount of joy, a different amount of mercy and life which will come into your own heart. Okay. By being a mercy to others, you are bringing yourself to a real life that is, full of inner life. And a person like that, he will not think of suicide, but they'll be thinking of the next day, right? They'll be thinking of what they can do the next day for somebody else, right? And I think that could be, that's sort of, it's a similar sort of thing as how it has been shown that caring for animals, or bringing animals for patients to pet interact with, it's been shown to be very effective therapy for the depressed and the suicidal, right? Because you're now showing these animals some mercy, right? Even just by petting them and stuff, you're now interacting in a way where you're putting out mercy into the world, and that I think is the real cure for anything with the suicidal tendencies that people might have. It is to try now to, instead of looking about how they can fix things for themselves, they look at how they can fix things for others, how they can be a mercy to other people. Okay, and in that way, that is what will take away that kind of suicidal tendency, right? لا تقتلوا أنفسكم إن الله كان بكم رحيما. Do not kill yourself, for truly through you God is merciful. And that's it. So it was a very short contemplation. Let me go back to the StreamYard and see who we have. All right, good. 12 people actually on. I thought it would be less because of the Eid and etc. Okay, do we have in the chat? Hey, assalamu alaikum. Adriana, good to see you again. Assalamu alaikum, Hector. Sora. And Perfect Dawah. Perfect Dawah, how did your debate go? Let us know if you can come on and talk about it. Assalamu alaikum, everybody else. All right, good. Okay, so just to reiterate something that I mentioned at the beginning, and I should be mentioning it more often, please remember that the purpose of these streams is for anybody to come on and share any insights that they might have. Okay, so please, if you do have something, don't feel shy. The link is in the chat. So please, in the comment section, so please, do come on and share any contemplations that you might have on any verses in the Quran. Anything that you like, will be great. That's the first thing. And also, like I said at the beginning as well, I was thinking of doing this, talking today about the issue of the Sabat Ahruf, the 7 modes upon which the Quran is said to have been revealed, that whole narration which I reject. I think it's maybe about time I spoke a little bit about that issue, the Sabat Ahruf, the Qira'at, the preservation of the Quran. It won't be part of the contemplation, it won't be part of the series. Maybe it'll just be something by itself. But I was going to speak about it today, but I decided to just delay it a little bit. I'll probably speak about it sometime this week in the next few days. Okay. We have the Perfect Dawah backstage. Bringing you on now.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam. How are you?
Alhamdulillah. Thank you. How about you?
Very good, very good. Good to hear from you again.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was very good. It was me and Brother Rashid. And yeah, there were 2 also. And one of them, of course, was he didn't know much about Islam. He just hear some news here there and see terrorists and such things, and then he decided that Islam is bad. And the other one, yeah, he knew a little bit more, but anyway, finally he said that both of you are very good people and so on. So, but of course they dispute.
But Islam is not, right?
the way we represent Islam and the way they see Islam, So, yeah, that otherwise.
Yeah, I mean that will always be the dispute, from what I from what I know of you. That it will always come down to that in these debates that you get involved in. It will always come down to that. They will say, okay, you know, the Islam that you are saying is very nice, very good, but it's not the real Islam, right?
Exactly.
That's what it
Yeah.
comes down to in the end.
Mm,
Mm.
yeah. Otherwise, it was good, and for Brother Rashid was also a good experience.
Mm.
Yes. And how are you, my brother?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you very much. Let me just see this comment quickly. Assalamu alaikum. What is the Quranic concept of encourage the right and forbid the wrong? And Islam also teaches there is no compulsion in religion. Um, yeah, it's you know, when you command something, or you know, or encourage something, it's not forcing it, right? Forcing is to actually, you know, force a person to do it either physically, or you know, punish them if they don't, that sort of thing. So I don't see a difference of it. But and also the thing about it, what's to note about that verse, and those verses which talk about al-ma'ruf, right, is they say it's actually what al-ma'ruf, what is known, right? Those who enjoin what is known, really. I mean, they say, you know, like you said, that they use translated as, you know, yeah, encourage the right, okay? But isn't that in Arabic? It's al-ma'ruf. Al-ma'ruf is something which is known, okay? And that is something which is more, parts of that is something which is more cultural. You know, it's more, you know, something which is known to be right and good and true, okay? And you should always focus on the higher ones first, right? So the bigger ma'roofs, right? Start with them, and then you know. But unfortunately, like for example, you have Hassan al-Malik has mentioned this before, right? That you have in Saudi, it's been dismantled now pretty much, but you used to have this religious police, which was really called al-Hay'a, right? Hay'at al-Amr bil-Ma'ruf wa Nahy al-Munkar, the committee, or the people who command what is right and forbid what is wrong. And they used to go around basically, you know, forcing shops to close at the time of Salah. You know, a woman who is not covered her face, they would take her away. You know, for a time that was happening. You know, if she's wearing makeup, they would you know, that sort of thing. If they find a man and a woman walking together, they you know, separate them, question them: are they married? Are they not? You know, that sort of thing. So they're involved in these sort of things. Um, Hassan Malik used to comment, said if they would you know, they should make the ma'ruf of the Quran, and the munkar of the Quran, and start with the big things, like the ghish, for example, the corruption in the sales of lands and things like this. You know, and there's a lot of corruption in Saudi Arabia about that sort of thing. If somebody wants to buy a piece of land in order to build their home on it and stuff, you know, and you know, trying to get that approved, and you know, you need the wasta, you need, you know, who you know, and all of these kind of things. There's a lot of things which happen, and you're saying, why don't these religious police deal with that sort of thing, right? The big things of that, the fraud, you know, fraud that happens in commerce and these sort of things, instead of, you know, basically molesting the average person going to the going to the, you know, walking around in the mall, average woman walking in the mall, you know, just wanting to buy something over her friends, or you know, that sort of thing. So, you know, that's what I would say about that. All right. Okay. I don't think we have anybody else who is going to be coming on, so
I
maybe
would
we'll
like
end the
to.
stream a bit early
Yeah,
today. Yes.
I would like to ask about the major sins that you were mentioned. Yeah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that if you avoid minor sins, I
Yeah.
will
If you
forgive
avoid
them.
the
Yeah,
major sins.
yeah. Because they say that, of course, usually they say, but shirk is the very major sin. Yeah,
Yeah.
sin out. Yes, and or rejecting or disbelief is a major sin.
Mm.
So, what do you think about that? What is your answer?
No, I don't think it's like not believing in God. No, that's not a major sin. A major
Uh,
sin, the sins are what you do, right? It's what you
exactly.
do. Again, it comes down to
Yeah.
what you do. And you know, the major sins are according to what you do, and the shirk in the end, the shirk is it's about servitude to others, and so what you do in that servitude to others, okay, it's going to be negative deeds, bad deeds. But basically, what are the big sins to stay away from? They're the ones which Quran mentions that if you do them, it promises hell for them, basically, right?
Yes.
So it comes down to that, right? So just like the verses are saying, if you stay away from the major sins, we will forgive you the small things and enter you into Jannah, right? So
Yes.
what are these major sins? Well, they are of course going to be those things which for which the Quran promises hell, murder, eating the orphan's wealth, right? Zina, right? All of these things, the theft. Theft is a major sin as well. Okay, the things also which in the Quran are, where you have actual worldly punishment for it, right? So those are major sins as well. They're not that many, not many. It's basically like the Ten Commandments of Moses, al-Wasaya al-Ashra,
Yes, but usually it is those extremists say that no, shirk is one of the biggest sins. Yeah, they say that.
They say it's the biggest, yeah.
Yeah, they say it is one of the biggest. Because I understand myself, as I read, for example, chapter 107, verse 1 through 7. Yeah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that haven't you seen those who reject religion? They repulse the orphan, and they don't feed help the needy, and then say would those who pray, yet they are the same. So it is exactly the same whether you believe or you disbelieve. When you don't do those, okay, then you are the same. But if you do those, help the needy and orphans and so on, you do good deeds, then you are the same like a believer who do that. Okay, so I understand it as your deeds is important, not what you say, what you, for example,
Yeah,
you pray, you
that's
just
exactly.
show off. Yes.
Yeah, that's why we're here in this world, right? لِيَبْلُوكُمْ أَيُّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا.
Mm-hmm.
We are here to be tested which of you is best in deeds. Okay?
Exactly.
فَاسْتَبِقُوا الْخَيْرَاتِ. Even when speaking about, that verse in Surah Al-Ma'idah, which talks about, لِكُلٍّ جَعَلْنَا مِنْكُمْ شِرْعَةً وَمِنْهَاجًا. Each people, to each religions, we have given a sharia and a minhaj.
Yes.
If God had wanted, He would have made you all one people. فَاسْتَبِقُوا الْخَيْرَاتِ. Right? So race to goodness. Race to goodness. Right? إِلَى اللَّهِ مَرْجِعُكُمْ. To God will you return, and He's the one who's going to tell us the differences of what you used to do, right? So in the end, it all comes down to your actions, right? We are in this world for God to see which of us is best in actions. أَيُّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا. Yeah, so when it comes, but they do say that shirk is the biggest sin, and again, it's because of they give priority to the narrations about that. The narration which she explains, in the shirk la dhulmun azim, right? In the shirk la dhulmun azim. That's a verse in the Quran, right? That's truly shirk is a dhulm, an injustice, and it is azim. It is big, and it is big.
Yes.
But Allah says many times in the Quran, وَمَنْ أَظْلَمُ مِمَّنِ افْتَرَى عَلَى اللَّهِ كَذِبًا. It's a rhetorical question. Who is more unjust than the one who invents a lie against Allah? Okay, so
Yeah.
you can't then say to Allah, oh, the mushrik is. No. Now Allah is saying that rhetorically. The one who is, there's nobody more unjust. That's the correct answer. Nobody is more unjust. Nobody is adlam from the one who invents a lie against God. Right? Because that lie will cause untold harm and evil in the future, right? When you make a lie against God, it goes on for a very long time. The shirk he dies with his the shirk of the mushrik dies with him. So
Yes.
mushrik when he whatever shirk he's upon, he dies, it's gone. It died with him. The shirk of Abu Jahl died with him. Okay, but the dhulm of inventing a lie against God, that goes on through the ages. That goes on through the ages, centuries. So like the lie that to kill apostates, right? That's been with us 1,000 years. Okay, and it's going to continue probably for centuries more, right? Where people will look at that and say yes, well, some will say yes, an apostate should be killed. So that's why inventing a lie against God is the worst sin. There's nothing worse than that.
Another thing is that it came up as well, chapter 5, verse 33. Yeah. They were saying, because the subject was, is Islam violent or not? And one of them said that, oh yeah, here Allah says crucify people, yeah, chop their hands and feet from alternate side and so on. So, and I was explaining that this is a passive form, yeah, and it is not an order that Muslims do that. This is when you put it, this one beside verse 7, chapter 7, verse 124, that says, Pharaoh says that I will certainly cut off your hands and feet on opposite sides, then crucify you all. Chapter 20, verse 71. The same thing Pharaoh says to those who, accept Moses, peace be upon him, his miracle. He said, have you believed in him before taking my permission? He is surely your great one who has taught you magic. So I will cut off your hands and feet from alternate sides, and I will crucify you on the trunks of the palm trees. So when you put it beside, then you realize that these are things that Pharaoh and pagans have done. Okay, so, and that chapter 5 verse 33 is a passive form. It says that if they don't believe in Allah, this is what will happen to them in this world. Who does that? It's not an order to Muslims that they crucify people or chop their hands from opposite side and so on. It is what happens to them if they don't follow Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by themselves, by people like Pharaoh.
All right.
Yes, this is.
All right, hold on. Let me just bring. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, we've already discussed that before. Remember, so I don't want to get into. But but thank you for that. And anybody who's interested in hearing Perfect Dawah's how he sees that verse, I don't know if you can check that debate, of course, that he had, and also you can see. I don't know which live stream you were on where we discussed that, me and you, a little bit. But if anybody knows, put that in the comment section. But anyway, I have here Azri. He says he would like to discuss the live stream with that you had with him anyway. So I'm going to bring him on at the same time as well.
All right. Yes. Okay. No problem. Yeah.
Assalamualaikum.
Assalamualaikum Azri. Assalamualaikum Azri.
Waalaikumsalam Mr. Muji. Khalid. Khalid, right?
Yes, Khalid. Yes.
Yes, Khalid. Yes.
Yeah. I was in a Perfect Dawah stream, and he said he was on another Muslim stream. There they said there was a justification for killing apostate in Islam. Mr. Muji, do you remember?
It was actually, I wasn't there. It was the EF Dawah. He was talking to somebody on this Hyde Park, or I don't know what is the name of that. Yeah, they are on somewhere in a park. What they call it, yeah. And then he was trying to prove that, yes, if you leave Islam and then you talk about it, you do this, and then other people might become, apostate and so on. That's why we have to kill you. So, yes, that was his name.
No, there's another stream, I think. A stream that says that the justification for killing apostates in Islam is in chapter 2, verse 54. That's what they said. The children of Israel, the calf and kilo stuff.
Okay, you mean that the last night's debate? Yeah.
No. Another live stream.
Okay, yeah. Okay, now I remember. Yes. It was some mufti from Pakistan, I think, that we discussed actually with brother Khalid about that, and brother Rashid about that.
We talked about that in some text back and forth on.
Yes. Now you can
a little bit. It wasn't verse. I don't think it's verse 52. Which verse is it? You said
chapter 2. Chapter
verse
2.
54. Yeah,
verse
chapter 2, verse 54.
Verse 54. Yeah. So it's a verse basically for all those who. Well, let me actually try to put it on the screen. Just give me 1 second.
Yes, please.
Okay, give me 1 second. Sorry, try and put it on the screen. It's basically the verse of Musa telling the Bani Israel to kill themselves. Let me stop this. Hold on, that's just my daughter pouring herself water very noisily.
It's okay.
Yeah. Let me share. Okay, yeah. So it's this verse. It says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وإذ قال موسى لقومه يا قوم إنكم ظلمتم أنفسكم باتخاذكم العجلة فتوبوا إلى بارئكم. Right? It says, oh, when Moses said, "Oh my people, you have wronged yourselves by taking the ijl." And I've noted before, if anyone remembers, that in the whole of the Quran it never says that they worshipped the ijl, that they were in ibadah to the ijl. It's always that they took it. They took it as an ilah, but they were not in ibadah to it. And this is one of the things which helps you to understand what shirk really is. Okay, shirk is not what is towards inanimate objects. But anyway, it says here, "Fatubu ila bari'ikum." So repent to your Lord. "Faqtulu anfusakum." So kill yourselves. And this could be related to what we're saying today. We're talking about suicide and stuff. So it says here, so kill yourselves. ذَلِكُمْ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ عِنْدَ بَارِئِكُم. That is better for you in the in the sight of your Creator. فَتَابَ عَلَيْكُمْ. So He repented to you. إِنَّهُ هُوَ التَّوَّابُ الرَّحِيمُ. Truly He is the Tawwab Rahim. Let me read the Sahih International. So it says, "And recall when Moses said to his people, O my people, indeed you have wronged yourselves by your taking up the calf for worship." And again, see, they put here for worship, but it's not in Arabic. So repent to your Creator and kill yourselves. That is best for all of you in the sight of your Creator. Then He accepted your repentance. Indeed, He is the accepting of the repentance, the merciful. So what they say is that what this verse is really saying, first of all, they say is that it says to kill not yourselves, but kill those who actually took the calf. Okay, those who actually and then through that they go back to the Jewish literature. I don't know if it's actually in the Old Testament or not, that that half of them were told to kill it was divided into two, right? So that those who worshipped the ijl and those who didn't, and they were told to kill those who worshipped it. So they say. And that's why you find it. I think you find it in some of these. There is so slay the culprits, right? You have in some of these translations, slay the culprits. It's not in Arabic, okay? Slay the culprits, slay yourselves, i.e. the wrongdoers. Here it has it. It says Yusuf Ali, slay yourselves, and it puts in the wrongdoers. Again, it's not in Arabic, okay? So what does it mean? I mean, I forget what Rashid said because I didn't really accept it. I didn't really like it, so I've forgotten what he mentioned about that. But the way I see it is very simple.
He said, yes, I remember. He
okay,
said
go
that,
ahead.
yes, he said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, repent as much as you can, so that too much, because we say it even today many times, do something until you die, but we don't mean that you really die.
No, he said no. That's what I said. He said he had at first said something else, so maybe he came around to my opinion on it. He mentioned something else. I forgot what it was, but yes, basically that's what I said. That it means kill yourself in repentance. So it's like it's extreme emphasis. The verse in Arabic is basically extreme emphasis. Repent and kill yourself in repentance. Right?
Okay, in Mr. Muji's live stream, Brother Rashid brought a verse to say something different, I think.
No.
The verse
he brought another verse. He brought another verse that in that verse that it was this Samari or why he was not killed. He was the one who.
That's the Samiri one. Yeah,
yes,
but let me just finish. Yeah, let me just finish about this, because it's just like when we talk about now, like when we say, "Oh my God, he killed it, he smashed it," right? When we say about somebody who did something really, really well, like in English now we say, "Oh, he killed it." Okay, he smashed it. He hit it out of the park, right? We have these hyperbole things, right? We've done it so much, right? Even you have it like people say, I don't speak about a topic حتى أقتله بحثا. I don't speak about an issue until I kill it with research. I kill it in research. It means I've completely exhausted it. I've researched it so well. I've read everything about it. I've killed it. Okay. there's there's nothing that can come up and come out of it back to me, right? I've killed it in research. So it's that kind of thing. So you can even see it in the sense in the Arabic, okay? فَتُوبُوا إِلَى بَارِئِكُمْ فَاقْتُلُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ, right? Repent to your Lord, and kill yourselves in it. Really, really repent. It's an extreme thing, because what he did here was crazy, right? What they did was unforgivable. The other one is the one about the Samiri, right? So he's saying that some people said that, I don't know, that the argument is ridiculous. They say that, the Samiri, he's the one who made the golden calf, right? But Musa didn't kill him. Okay, Musa didn't kill him. He said to him, "Izhab, go," right? So if that verse was to be used as an argument for the killing of apostate, it works backwards. This is actually an argument against killing of apostates. And secondly, they will also say many things. They will say this is the Sharia of Musa. These people who say this, they talk about this is the Sharia of Musa. They will say this is what God commanded the Israelites. Okay, it's got nothing to do with us, right? In our Sharia. But of course, it's not true. In God has never made any compulsion in religion. Okay, there's never been any compulsion in religion. But yeah, in the Quran, the Samiri was not killed. Musa told him to just go, right? إِذْهَبْ فَإِنَّ لَكَ فِي الْأَرْضِ أَن تَقُولَ لَا مِسَاسٍ, right? Go, right? And then said to him, and look towards this ilah of yours, this God of yours that you started doing rituals towards, where لَنُحْرِقَنَّهُ ثُمَّ لَنُنْسِفَنَّهُ فِي الْيَمِّ نَسْفًا. We will burn it and then we'll spread it out into the sea, right? But he wasn't killed. The Samiri was not killed, right? So it can't be used. It's an example of that. So if this verse, the one we're looking at now, had really meant kill the culprits, as some of these translations say, kill the culprits, then the first one to be killed should have been the Samiri, right? He's the real the main culprit. But of course he wasn't killed. So of course here it doesn't mean kill the culprits, nor does it even mean, of course, kill yourselves. It's really, to actually really commit suicide.
Yeah, suicide is forbidden. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, does that make sense, Azri?
There's another verse that Brother Rashid brought. It was chapter 4:64.
Chapter 4:64.
Azri, did it make sense for you, the verse Brother Khalid explained?
Not killing yourself.
Yeah.
No, that killing that verse 254 doesn't mean that we have to kill apostate.
I only follow what Brother Rashid says.
He's asking just
this one.
Asking. Yeah, he was just asking if it made sense, but that's fine.
This
is the verse. Yeah, this verse, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَا مِنْ رَسُولٍ إِلَّا لِيُطَاعَ بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ. And we have not sent any messenger except that he should be obeyed by the permission of God. وَلَوْ أَنَّهُمْ إِذْ ظَلَمُوا أَنفُسَهُمْ جَاءُوكَ فَاسْتَغْفِرُوا اللَّهَ وَاسْتَغْفَرَ لَهُمْ رَسُولُهُ لَوَجَدُوا اللَّهَ تَوَّابًا رَحِيمًا. And if only when they had wronged themselves, they had come to you and asked forgiveness of God, and the messenger had sought forgiveness for them, they would have found God.
Sorry, wrong verse, I think.
Okay,
Yeah.
which verse?
466. Sorry.
466. ولو أنا كتبنا عليهم أن يقتلوا أنفسكم أو يخرجوا من ديارهم ما فعلوه إلا قليل منهم ولو أنهم فعلوا ما يوعظون به لكان خيرا لهم وأشد تثبيتا. Again, so this is it's not in relation to killing apostates. So it's أنهم كتبنا. So it probably says that.
قتل.
Yeah, exactly. لو أن كتبنا عليهم أن يقتلوا أنفسكم, right? And if we had, written for them that they should kill themselves, not kill apostates, first of all, right? Or go out from your homes.
Yes.
Very few of them would have done that, right? So
from that, I will assume that killing yourself means to go out from your homes. That's what.
No, it says all. It says all,
yeah.
Right? If we had prescribed for them that they should kill themselves or that they should leave their homes, okay, ما فعلوه إلا قليل من. None of them would have done it except a few, okay. None of them would have done it except a few. So it's sort of like one of those iftirad, right? It's one of those what are they called in English? When you say if it's basically if we had done this, we're not doing this. We had not done that. We have not done that. So that's the first thing. It says walau anna, if we had. Oh, but had we? No, we haven't. Okay, if we had written upon them that they should kill themselves or that they should leave their homes, very few of them would have done it. It's basically like saying that if we had told them to do that, which is the biggest thing, right? Kill yourselves as a sign of faith. Very few would have done it, right? It's just talking about a possibility, okay? Like trying to show the possibility that if we had said this extreme thing, very few would have listened, right? Would have listened. But it isn't. I mean, it didn't happen, right? God didn't write that upon them, and it's just talking about their nature, I suppose, in this. If that makes sense.
I think that I think Muhammad Hijab also said something that is to expel them, not to kill them. Do you know Muhammad Hijab?
No. Yeah, I know Muhammad Hijab, but here it says, Muhammad Hijab says a crazy thing. Yeah, I understand what he's saying. He's saying, okay, so Muhammad Hijab's solution that he's proposed to the whole apostasy issue is he says that by using the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, he says that what should happen is that Muslim countries should enter into a agreement or make treaties with non-Muslim countries so that the apostates in the Muslim countries can be sent out from the Muslim countries to the non-Muslim countries. Okay, what if the person doesn't want to leave his home? I mean, it's one of this is how blind people can be to the Quran. One of the biggest things in the Quran is that the fight. One of the reason why the Muslims were allowed to fight is because they were expelled from their homes. The Muslims were expelled from Mecca. They were persecuted and expelled from Mecca forcefully. Muhammad Hijab's solution is to forcefully expel apostates.
But why would apostate live in a Muslim country? They shouldn't.
No, it doesn't know why. What do you mean? Why shouldn't they live in a Muslim country?
Because they do not believe in Islam.
Sorry?
Because they do not believe in Islam. So why should
no?
They
But
still
I mean,
live in
if all if your family, your friends, the country that you've grown up in, that this is your country, right? It's your country. This is your land. Your blood is from there. Your ancestry is from there. All your family history is from there. And then you've just, for whatever reason, you no longer believe in Islam. You don't want to be a Muslim anymore. And for that reason, you should be expelled from where you live? Is that just? Just because of that, you should not be allowed to live where you've always grown up?
Then there is
leave your job, leave everything, just go,
Then there is no compulsion in religion then.
Yeah. I mean, it's a silly thing. And let's say it's opposite, right? So let's say it's because right now, of course, most of the Muslim countries a lot of Muslim countries are third world countries, right? So if you make it so they've made an agreement, right? Some third world, very poor Muslim
millions want to go.
Make agreement with Canada. Now you're encouraging apostasy. Everybody's I'm apostate. I want to go.
Let me tell you.
Okay, I'm apostate. Let me go.
Yeah, Brother Khalid, let me tell you now, because in Iran, for example, millions of Iranians, because of the regime and so on, they want to run away. So they come out even and give false,
and they say apostate,
apostate, homosexuality, and many things, despite they are not.
Exactly.
Despite they are not.
Exactly. No, it's a ridiculous thing from Muhammad Hijab. Just utterly completely blind to all the verses in the Quran which talk about the intense zulm that it is to expel people from their thing. And it says in the Quran, it says, "Al-fitnatu ashaddu min al-qatl." Yeah, it says that the fitna that the Muslims endured of being expelled from their homes, that can be worse than killing. That's worse than actually killing them. Al-fitnatu ashaddu min al-qatl. So I mean, it's just complete blindness. I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's because he doesn't want to let go of the hadith. Why? Why, when the whole Quran is talking about freedom of religion, why you have to hold on to this, to the hadith that you must kill apostates? Why? Just because in Bukhari? Okay, and then you have to invent this whole thing of now having to expel people from their homes and get treaties to expel. Oh, come on.
And then another thing is that, Brother Khalid, you create munafiqun, because I was living in a Gulf country, and unfortunately, so many people, they go to Jum'ah, they pray fasting and all, and they don't believe in Islam. So Islam doesn't need such a people, you know. Islam wants people who really believe in Islam and follow, you know, not that people who just show off. That chapter 107 verse 1 to 7 says that woe to those who pray yet they are not mindful of their prayers and they do bad deeds, you know. So Islam doesn't need people who just show off, who just you know, don't believe, but they have to, because somebody was doing that, and I was saying that when you don't believe, why you do that? He was saying because of my family, you know, and society. So this is absolutely wrong.
You know? Yeah. I mean, look, here's another one. Look, 5 was the verse 584, right? So this is one of the things which the previous, not this one.
Another thing is that unfortunately,
no, not this verse. Sorry, wrong verse.
Yeah. Brother Khaled, mostly when we say that this is not Islamic, this is against Islam, all of them say, for 1400 years, all Muslims have taken it wrong, and you now suddenly you know the right interpretation of Islam. Yes, because
for 2,000 years, or however many thousand years, the Christians have got it wrong, and you Muslims, you know what's right.
And my answer is to them is that if I was born 100 years ago, I would also have it wrong. Today, alhamdulillah, there is internet. I can talk to Brother Khaled. I can talk to Brother Rashid. I can, research here, there. So, and I have education, so I can decide. Yes, I can decide.
Look at this verse, right? So this is one of the verses which it talks about Bani Israel, right? أَلَمْ تَرَ إِلَى الْمَلَإِ مِنْ بَنِي إِسْرَائِيلَ مِنْ بَعْدِ مُوسَى. Do you not see the sort of like the council of people, the sort of the elders of Bani Israel after Moses, إذ قالوا للنبي لهم ابعث لنا ملكا نقاتل في سبيل الله. Send for us a king, or choose for us among us a king so we can fight in the way of Allah. قال هل عسيتم إن كتب عليكم القتال ألا تقاتلوا. Do you not think that maybe when fighting is prescribed for you, that you will not fight? They said, okay, now here's the justification of why they should fight, right? قالوا وما لنا لا نقاتل في سبيل الله وقد أخرجنا من ديارنا وأبنائنا. Why shouldn't we fight in the cause of Allah when we have been expelled from our homes and our children? Right? So if you expel people from their homes, right? They have a right to fight in the name of Allah, in the fi sabilillah, to get back their homes. Expel them from the Muslim land? No, they have the right to fight to come back, right? قَدْ أُخْرِجْنَا مِنْ دِيَارٍ. It's all over the Quran. This idea that people are being expelled from their homes. Okay,
but that's only if it's their homes. What if disbelievers?
What do you mean? If somebody who is a disbeliever in a Muslim country, okay, he has his homes, and then the country decides to follow Muhammad Hijab's idea that they will expel these people to a different country, they have the right to fight to come back to that country, to their homes.
But
why should they be expelled?
To me, that's an Islamic country. Why would they stay? Why would they stay and fight for Allah?
It's their home. It's their home. No, fight against that so-called Islamic country to get back their homes. They have the right to fight for their homes.
I guess we can come to a disagreement. Sorry.
No, I mean you're just saying that why would you live in a Muslim country? Well, if you're right now you're in a Muslim country, my friend.
Yes, I'm in a Muslim country.
Okay, so if tomorrow you become a non-Muslim, you should be expelled from where you live.
I think I want to migrate elsewhere because I do not want to give money to
Why?
Islam.
Why? Because you might be killed. Is that why you
No,
don't want
because
to go?
it's not a cause I want to fight for. It's not for Islam I want to live.
No,
That's
you don't
all.
have to live. You don't have to live for Islam. But just because you're living in a Muslim country doesn't mean you're living for Islam.
But it's not like they are going to make a separate atheist place for atheist state for me or something. They will never do that.
No, but why should you need a separate state? Why can't you just live in a Muslim country and have your rights?
Because I
And
don't
have a
I don't
right
want to
to.
be a Muslim. I don't want to be a Muslim.
No, nobody's saying you have to. I'm saying that you can be in a Muslim country without being a Muslim, okay, and just live peacefully there. What's wrong with that?
I I I think it's holding me back or something. We cannot discuss or something. We cannot be open. We cannot
Well,
criticize.
exactly. So it's basically it's people like Muhammad Hijab. It's because of them that you would want to leave,
Of course,
right?
it's better for us to leave then.
No,
It's not
no,
good for us
no.
to stay there.
I mean, look, you can go wherever you want. You can go wherever you want, right? And if you decide that changing your religion means you're going to have to change your whole life and go to a different country, you can do that, right? But that shouldn't be forced. It shouldn't be forced.
Okay. I agree with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, nobody should be forced saying, no, you've changed your religion, leave this country now, go to a different country. Why? Person can have his business there, his family's there, his cousins, his friends, his job, his parents' graves. He wants to visit his parents' graves, even if he's not a Muslim. Maybe he wants to, for whatever reason. And you say no, you have to be expelled from this country, and you can't ever come back. And if you come back, we kill you, right? Because that's the other thing that Muhammad Hijab is basically saying. These people are going to be removed from the country, but if they come back and we catch them, we kill them. Right? That's basically what he's saying. Because in the country you'll be killed. That's why we're exiling you to another country, right? To a non-Muslim country with whom we have a treaty. Okay, so you go and you never come back. Don't try to visit. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Okay. We come into a disagreement, but okay.
Yeah. It's fine.
It's not like the system is have been made or something. It still haven't been made or something.
Sorry,
Okay.
say it again.
The system like that have not been made, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I know. Something like that hasn't been made. Thankfully, hopefully, it won't be made. Hopefully, it won't be made.
Okay,
I don't know.
that's
I
all
mean,
from me.
is it better? Is it better than having apostates killed in a Muslim country to decide? Okay, we're going to exile them. I don't believe it's always better. That's persecution, fitna. The Quran says
For me,
fitna shaddu min al-qatl, right? So it
for
can
me,
be it can be worse. What if it's the other way around, right? So let's say somebody who is living in a very he's a rich person living in a rich Gulf country, right? So Qatar is like the richest Gulf country, right? So somebody's there, he's living a fantastic life, okay? And there are apostates, of course. Right now in places like Qatar, there are apostates, okay? And Qatar has a treaty with one of the poorest non-Muslim countries in the world, with much crime and corruption, everything. The treaty is that our apostates of Qatar, right, we send them to you, okay? That is fitna, right? That you can say a fitna shadda min al-qatl, right? Somebody who's like a Qatari young man or woman who's living in Qatar, they get so much money, just a Qatari national gets so much money because, the country has a small population and it's a very rich country, gas and oil. So each Qatari gets a lot of money, right? And then he's living a good life there. He has all his family around, but and then he said a few things to his friends that he doesn't believe in Islam anymore. One of them, tells the police catch him and say, look, search his room. They find out, yeah, really, this guy is an apostate. So now we're gonna send him to, I don't know, to where, pick a very poor non-Muslim country somewhere. And you have to go there, and we send you there, and that's it, right? And don't come back. If you come back, we kill you, right? No, that's persecution. That's like thing. That's fitna, right? Fitna shaddu min al-qatl. The person might end up saying, no, I'd rather be executed in Qatar than have to go and live in the slums of, I don't know, I don't know, man. Maybe some South American country where it's drug infested and crime infested, and it could be killed, right? Just be robbed easily and all of this stuff. Who knows?
Okay, that's all from me. Thank you.
All right. Take care of yourself. Jazakallah. Thank you.
Okay, Assalamualaikum.
No problem. Assalamu alaikum. All right. Perfect Dawah is still backstage. Okay. How did you get backstage? You left and came back?
No, my internet was, the connection is poor, so that's why I went offline and then came back. Anyway, I saw somebody in the chat says about chapter 5, verse 72.
Yeah, I just saw that now, saying that this forbids paradise for Christians. Hold on, let me see that. I think this is
definitely not
something I really spoke about recently regarding that.
Because there are many verses.
I think we spoke about that, right? We spoke about the I think it's got to be about the Trinity or tritheism. Yeah. Okay. So this is not about. So first of all, does this verse? I know people straight away assume that this is talking about just blanket statement Christians, all Christians. Yeah, all Christians believe this or like this. لقد كفر الذين قالوا إن الله هو المسيح ابن مريم وقال المسيح يا بني إسرائيل اعبدوا الله ربي وربكم ومن يشرك بالله فقد حرم الله عليه الجنة ومأواه النار وما للظالمين من أنصار. Okay, so it's talking about who? ثم لقد كفر الذين, doesn't say لقد كفر النصارى, don't say that they have done kufr al-Nasara who say إن الله هو المسيح ابن مريم. Okay, so it doesn't say that. It's talking about those who say this. So there are a subset of the Christians who are like this. They have kafir, right? But that doesn't make them straight away mushrikeen. Okay, and then of course Isa says, "Man yushrik billahi faqad harram Allahu alayhi al-jannah." That's true. Man yushrik billahi faqad harram Allahu alayhi al-jannah. Okay, but not everybody who is committing kufr is a mushrik or has committed shirk in this respect. Also, the interesting thing that I always found about this is that the wording of it, right? So it's not, it's not that they say, Inna al-Masiha huwa Allah, right? Which is basically what the Christians say. They say that Jesus is Lord. They say here, Inna Allah huwa al-Masih. Truly Allah, He is the Masih. Okay, so it's I don't know how well this fits into the Christian, the mainstream Christian doctrine, right? So there are those who would say that Allah, it's you might say, okay, it's the same thing. Saying Allah is al-Masih or saying al-Masih is Allah, that they mean the same thing, but they don't mean the same thing, right? They don't mean the same thing. It's like saying, okay, I remember that movie, it's called Red or something, where you had so this guy gets picked up by, so there's this gangster boss or whatever it is, right? So this leader of some mafia or something. Yeah, he's played by what's his name? The guy who always plays the voice of God. The guy with like the really deep voice, the black actor. I forget his name anyway. So he sends these guys, some of his like troopmen to pick him up, right? And so they pick him up and then they bring him to him, and he says the head guy, the boss, the mafia boss says to the guy, okay, so you finally, why were you trying to run away from me? He says, no, I wasn't trying to run away from you. I was trying to run away from him. Okay, and he goes, what? You thought I was him? He says, no, I thought he was you, right? Maybe that doesn't come across very well, but the point is that it's what you identify first. So you say Inna Allah. So in this they are saying Allah. Okay, so they are starting with Allah and they say Allah. Okay, the concept of God Himself, that is in Masih. Okay, He is in Masih, right? So they put Allah as this human person. Okay, whereas the other way around would be that the Masih is Allah. So this human person is like a veil over Allah. So Allah, this human person is Allah, right? In al-Masiha huwa Allah. That would be the other way around. And I think the other way around is how the Christians view it, right? They say Jesus is Lord, right? Jesus is Lord. But that's something to think about, the way that this part is worded, Okay, but the point is that it's talking about just these people. They have committed kufr, and then the rest talks about anybody who is a mushrik, that he can't go to Jannah, etc. Okay, so
Can I
no,
say
it
something?
doesn't. Yeah, go ahead. It doesn't. It's not talking strictly about the Nasara, just like the other verse which talk about لَقَدْ كَفَرَ الَّذِينَ قَالُوا إِنَّ اللَّهَ ثَالِثُ ثَلَاثَةٍ. Okay, and they have committed kufr as well, right? But it's talking about that subset. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, I will not say that when you put that verse beside other verses of Quran, like chapter 3, verse 113 through 115, not all of them are alike. Of the people of the book are a portion that stand for the right, and they rehearse the verses of God
Yeah.
all night long, and they prostrate themselves in adoration.
Well, you
They
see, that's
believe.
what
Yes,
I'm saying. See, that verse that
yes,
you're quoting there talks about people of the book. Ahl
yeah,
al-Kitab, min Ahl al-Kitab, right? So this isn't talking, it doesn't say Ahl al-Kitab, it doesn't say al-Nasara. So it's being very specific. لَقَدْ كَفَرَ الَّذِينَ قَالُوا إِنَّ اللَّهَ هُوَ الْمَسِيحُ ابْنُ مَرْيَمَ. Okay, so that is what you need, that you focus on that. That is what is being mentioned here. So it's not, that doesn't include all of the Nasara. Okay, so for example, some of the Nasara, they don't say that, right? They say, إِنَّ اللَّهَ ثَالِثُ ثَلَاثَةٍ, right? So they're not the same. Those who say Inna Allah Thalithu Thalatha are not the same as those who say Inna Allah Huwa al-Masih ibn Maryam. These are two different streams, sort of. Okay, two different, right?
and then
And then there are those who say Trinity, right? So those who say Trinity, يقول لا تقولوا ثلاثة, Trinity, and then there are those who are tritheisms, right? They're tritheists, because that's what I think. I mean, I forget which stream I talked about that. But at the end of one of the streams I mentioned, I think it's the one where we're talking, where it's the one about Hamza Yusuf become a Muslim, where I was commentating on Hamza Yusuf's discussion with Jordan Peterson. At the end of that, I talked about those two verses. One of them, which people just lump them together as if it's talking about the Trinity. No, one verse is talking about tritheism, okay, and that's the one which actually says those who continue to be kufr in that, they shall be punished. And then the other verse is talking about the Trinity, and it's much softer. So the wording for it is much softer. Okay, if you go to that, just maybe I'm not explaining it very well now. I'm tired, but go to the end of that stream, the one which is about becoming Muslim, the one which has the thumbnail of Jordan Peterson and Hamza Yusuf, and I talk about those two verses. Okay, but each of these are speaking about something different, right? You have to really pay attention to the wording in the Quran, right? Take the wording as it is. Don't substitute in your mind other things. Okay. لقد كفر الذين قالوا إن الله هو المسيح ابن مريم. That's what you need to talk about. It doesn't mean Christians. Doesn't mean all Christians. Doesn't mean Ahl al-Kitab. It just means those people. Okay, and they're distinct from the other verse which says لقد كفر الذين قالوا إن الله ثالث ثلاثة. They have committed kufr. Those who say Allah is a third of three. They are distinct from these people. These people say إن الله هو المسيح ابن مريم. Those say إن الله ثالث ثلاثة. Right? They are different.
I just would like to say to Jay that if you would like, we can talk on my stream also about this a little bit more, because I don't want to disturb Brother Khalid anymore.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, and then yes, I thank you, my brother.
I like this. Yeah, no problem, Prophet Dawud. Jazakallah khair for coming on again.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you very much. Assalamu
No
alaikum.
problem.
Thank you.
Take
Thank you
care.
very much.
Bye.
Yeah, you too. Bye-bye.
What is this? I like this name, username here, chilling with scriptures, right? There's a lot said here. I'm not going to be able to go over what's been said in the chat. But let me just get back a little bit to the last thing I looked at was this, about enjoining the right for picking and wrong. My glasses today. Like supposing parenting, to what extent should parents keep reminding their children about what is right, what is wrong? Like don't drink alcohol, don't wear revealing clothes. With regards to parenting, I don't think that's part. I mean, of course, it's part of it, but I don't think those verses are really. They're not really directed at that close relationship. They're just talking about outwardly, generally, in society. You should be encouraging the right, the ma'ruf, and forbidding the munkar, right? But of course, in terms of your own family, you try to instruct your children the best you can. You know them more intimately, more closely. There are some things that you might find that you think your children would suffer more if they indulged in than even if it's allowed, right? So you just try to guide your children as best you can. I don't think you need to. I wouldn't think of those verses too much in terms of parenting. Then joining the right, forbidding the wrong. Like I'm here to join the right, forbid the wrong for my children. No, you parent. Okay, you parent, and you try to show them the ways of birr and taqwa, and keep them away from what is evil. You encourage them. Try to show them the wisdom in these things. If a child knows they're feeling forbidden but still do it, should parents continue to remind or leave them be? No, yeah, I mean you continue. Again, sometimes it can be counterproductive, right? If you have to judge these things as a parent. There are some children that would respond by keep on having them reminded. Others, if you keep at it, it pushes them the other way, right? So I mean, this is a parenting question. I don't think it's as much involved in this. Assalamu alaikum, children of scriptures. So it doesn't make sense for the Moses to have told the Israelites to kill themselves, literally. Yes, exactly. What we talked about. So that's what we were talking about just now. 572, forbidden Christian paradise for Christians. Yeah, that was it, Morgan Freeman. Thank you. Yes, Morgan Freeman, right? So I forget the name of that film. It was a really funny film. It was one of those funny films, like circumstance films where you had two mob bosses, and you had Bruce Willis was in there as well. He was in that, right? And so this guy was trying to get to these two mob bosses. All right, let me get to the bottom. Given to right, but given the right application of Quran, there wouldn't be a need to migrate, because whether you leave the deen or not, you should never be healed. Exactly. Thank you very much. Chilling with scriptures. Does Allah has a throne? Arsh, like some of the Quranic verses are interpreted to mean that. Yeah, I mean he has the verses which talk about Arsh. Of course, they are metaphorical. It's like a king should have a throne, right? And Allah is the King of Kings, so He said Rabbul Arshil Azim, right? And they are metaphorical. God doesn't actually have an actual physical throne that He sits on or anything like that. Of course not, right? Maybe there's a creation which is a throne, which as like a something which God created as a symbol for His majesty, right? Maybe we'll see something like that, some huge throne, but it's not something that actually God sits on or anything like that. But yeah, those sort of throne, those sort of verses are not to be taken literally. And one of the verses says, وَكَانَ عَرْشُهُ عَلَى الْمَاءِ, his arsh was on the water, was on water. Yeah, those verses need a lot more contemplation about them, but I haven't really thought about those things in a long time, since the days of Salafis arguing about them, right? God has a hand, a shin, and for some reason 2 eyes, even though that none of the hadiths say a number of eyes, but they decide it's 2 eyes. But why? Because of course they imagine him to be like a person. All right. Am I busy? Not too busy. If you want to come on, please do. Because I was just thinking of closing it up, since I don't have anybody backstage. So chilling with scripture, if you want to come on, let me know, because I'm thinking of closing this up. If not, give me a sign. Oh, there we go. Rashid is here. Assalamu alaikum. How are you? Okay, so that was you.
Yes.
Chilling with scripture as you, yeah?
Yeah. Yes, that's me.
Okay, nice. I like it.
Yes.
I like the
How are
username.
you doing? I haven't heard from you in a while.
Yeah, when was it? 2 weeks ago, right? So I'm trying
Yeah.
to space out these streams a bit more regularly, but every 2 weeks, maybe every once in a while, throw one in the middle. I was going to speak, like I said before, I don't know if you caught the beginning. I was going to speak today about the issue of the ahruf, the 7 ahruf and stuff, but I'm going to delay that for a few days
Yeah.
because I saw basically I was watching the on blogging theology, Dr. Ali Al-Ta'i.
Mm.
He was on there speaking about the Quran's preservation and the ahruf and stuff like that, and he made a very good presentation and attempt. But it's all just full of holes because it's all based on something which is wrong, trying to make something which is not true and right. So you try to build a narrative around a lie, it just falls apart from different angles, right? You might be able to put together sort of a narrative which seems right to the person just listening passively, but if you stop and ask certain questions, it all falls apart. But I was going to speak about that, but I'd left a comment on that video, and Ali Atai sort of replied to it. It didn't really apply with any substance, to be honest, just like, what's your name, some things like this. But yeah, so because since it was sort of like an ongoing discussion, I didn't want to speak about it. It felt like speaking about it behind his back if I just started speaking about it in this stream, like today, when we still sort of like tentatively about to speak about it on the comment section of that video. But he hasn't replied or really said anything substantial. So if a few days nothing comes of that, I'll probably speak about it in a couple of days. It won't be part of this series. It'll be its own thing. I'll just title the video "Let's talk about Seba about Ahruf" or something. I don't know.
But what's his take on it? I didn't watch that stream. Does he agree with the?
He's a very traditional scholar. He's Zaytuna, right?
Okay.
Zaytuna school, of Hamza Yusuf, and
Okay.
so it's very traditional. Just the traditional narrative.
Mm.
That's it basically. And he brings in, he brings up what Marin and Sidki have said, and Sean Anthony and these people, the academics working in the field to sort of like bolster the position. But a lot of the things which he said, some of the things they would deny because, and they're just not well sourced. I like Ali Tai. I remember him from the first time I saw him was his debates with David Wood long time ago. I mean, I don't like those sort of debates anymore. I think they're very counterproductive, and it's actually, to put it bluntly, it's haram to speak and to engage with Ahlul Kitab in that way. Allah says, لا تجادل أهل الكتاب إلا بالتي هي أحسن. Right? Yeah, you have to be able to know how to speak with them in the best way. التي هي أحسن. Otherwise, if you can't do that, then be quiet because you're just gonna ruin things. There's already commonalities between us, and we should be trying to come together even more. It's like that video that we talked about in the Become Muslim, right, with the Hamza Yusuf and Jordan Peterson. تعالوا كلمة سواء. Come to a common word. We're trying to bring people together. So when you don't speak بالتي هي أحسن, you're acting opposite of that. You're pushing the two communities further away from each other. Just wanting to win one over the other.
Yeah. I wanted to hear your take about this issue on what's your take on issues such as the LGBTQ issues. Like, what would you say? Like, okay, if someone, for example, belongs to that community, and so they would ask, for example, how come that God hasn't provided them, let's say, a way to satisfy their desires, right? But for other people, he has, for example, given them an outlet. Like, for example, there is the access to marriage for men with women. They can get married and then they can fulfill that aspect of their desires with those women. But for them, for the men who have this same-sex attraction, or women, they see it as unfair for why God has restricted them so much, basically. So they would find that as being, unfair, kind of. Like, what's your take on it? Because I myself am not, I haven't really like delved really deep into the subject myself. I mean, I have started to research a little bit on it, on the claim that it is biological, not biological. And so I'm trying to weigh all the different options about, before I make my conclusive argument as to whether I would categorize it as haram or whatever. So I wanted
Well,
to
they're
hear.
not. I mean, first thing I would say, they're not. Then they're not any more restricted than the person who is not married, right? So the person who's not married, they can't unless they get married, right? So then, not everybody can get married. Not everybody does get married. There are people that spend their whole lives unable to find a partner to marry. Okay.
But they do have an
It's
outlet.
not- Well, they have an outlet in what? In without marriage? No.
No, I'm
Without
saying
marriage,
that
they don't. It's
yeah,
a
but
possibility. Yes.
they
It's a
have the
possibility.
possibility. They have the possibility, but the
Possibility.
others don't even
Yeah.
have that.
Yeah, they say exactly. So they don't have the possibility for that, right? But I'm just saying that it's not sort of like the end of it's not the end of the world to live your life without ever marrying. And, there are people. It's not like that's it. Yeah. You've. It's not something that you've sort of like your life is completely ruined and stuff. Okay, and that you can't think. That's one thing. I mean, okay, it's not a very um, sort of like appealing thing to say to somebody who's in the middle of that, but
Yeah.
it's part of the reality. There are many people that don't get married, even heterosexuals who don't get married. They're restricted to marriage as well. Okay, they're restricted to marriage, and if you can't get married, then you don't have an outlet as well, right? That's one. The other thing is that I don't accept that it's biological.
I'm leaning towards that as well.
Very very maybe in very like very few circumstances, like the hermaphrodites, people, these kind of things which are like more borderline. But the majority of what's happening now, no, it's not genetic. I don't believe it's genetic at all. I think it's psychological, and that's basically it. I think it's psychological, and I think it's the zulm of sort of like of the group, the zulm of the whole society, that it's actually telling them that this is natural and that's how you're born and all of these kind of stuff. I think that's one of the great crimes that's happening now, that people are being told that, rather than being told that it is something which is entirely, it is reversible. Okay, people say no, it's not reversible. No, I think it is reversible. That's my take on it. Because I don't believe anybody is born that way, right? It comes either from childhood. It can be due to things which happen in childhood. It can be it can be something acquired as people start to think, oh well, maybe I am like that. Let me try, right? and then they find themselves like that, right? So I don't believe anybody is like that. So that's basically what I would say. I think that it's a very difficult situation. The other thing, I don't think, I mean, people need to. It's actually less. Okay, it's more. Put it this way: it's more of a fahisha in terms of the concept of fuhsh, but it's less of a sin. It's less of a sin than zina, for example. And
Yeah.
zina is a worse sin, much worse
Yeah.
than any homosexual relationship or any of that. Okay. And no, it's less of a sin than just because zina is only zina if there's a married woman involved, right?
Yeah.
So a non-married man and a non-married woman, having sex outside of marriage, that's not zina.
No.
In the Quran, that's called musafaha. It's called musafaha. And so a homosexual relationship is less sinful than that as well. Okay, it's more
One
of a fahisha, but it's less of a sin than those things.
One thing that I also found interesting is that if you look at the Quran, that it's clear that Allah does mention it being a fahisha, in my opinion, anyway. But the interesting thing is that it is labeled as being so heavy or so big of a sin, in the traditional narrative, but yet Allah does not like give a punishment for that, does not give a had for it. If it was so big, like the way it
Yeah,
is, it is
yeah.
and today it
Yeah,
is like,
they say, yeah, it's blown out of proportion. I think it's blown out of proportion.
yeah, and Allah does not even like give a had for it. So the question is, why doesn't he? Like he clearly talks about it. So that means that there must have been some people who were practicing it during the time of the Prophet, or who knew what it is.
Yeah,
Why doesn't he like give anything, any punishment, any nothing like that?
yeah.
Clear in a way. So that was one of the things that I found fascinating. The other thing is that when I was looking at it, researching it from the biological aspect of it, I found myself like at a crossroads, because I was looking at it from an evolutionary point of view, and I thought, okay, this is problematic from an evolutionary point of view if you go with the assumption that you have the survival of the fittest and all that, and the natural selection and all that, and those are the driving forces behind evolution, behind the majority of evolution anyway. And it would seem strange why something like that, for example, if it is no longer let's see, like, why would it be passed on to today? Like, if something like that, if we're born with that, like since the beginning of time, something like that would have clearly, in my opinion anyway, if
Yeah.
you go with the evolutionary point of view, something like that would have died out given the
Yeah,
time.
there's nothing more counter to
Yeah,
nothing more counter that works against itself to be passed down so much as this, right?
exactly. Yeah, I
And to
found
be
that
passed down. It's
I
not. Look, yeah, they say it's like just they say it's genetic and people are born that way.
yeah,
If it's genetic, it would be you'd have like for example, look, people have known of different genetic diseases for a very long time before genetics. They didn't take people taking genetic samples from people and sitting in lab and looking at the codes to find out, this person has a genetic disease. People knew of genetic diseases from hundreds of years ago because they saw how they were passed down, family trees,
yeah,
okay, how they would skip a generation, this, etc. Right, so you can see people knew things which were part of the genetics because you could see them in family trees how they were inherited. But you don't see this. There's no family trees of homosexuals, right? You don't have
I
like
mean, it's
yeah, you don't have
difficult.
like yeah. So if somebody who says, I was born that way, okay, you're born as part of your genes. Okay, who did you inherit it from? Your mother's side or your father's side? From who? Can you trace it back? That's how it would be if this was a genetic, if this was something which is genetic,
Mm.
and you're born with it. Okay, if it's genetic and you're born with it, show us where is it in your family tree? Where did you get it from? From
Yeah,
who did you inherit it from?
for me, I think given the time, it would have, given the forces that drive evolution, or yeah, as today in modern biology, given that you know, given that premise, it would have, in my opinion, like died out. Either we say,
Yeah, I mean, it would if this mutation,
yeah,
if this mutation happened, then it would die out.
yeah,
So, like I said, somebody their family history. Okay. So let's say now it's something which is genetic and inherited, right? Okay, so you inherit. If you're saying that, then you inherited it from your ancestors.
mm,
They were able to get married despite it and have children and had an outlet. Okay, so you can do that as well. You're homosexual, right? But you can still get married and have children and so you do have an outlet. Okay, which is it? Is it that you don't have an outlet? Okay, and but your very existence as somebody who inherited this genetically tells us that it's possible for you to have an outlet, right? Because your ancestry, somebody there apparently was also homosexual, right? You inherited from them, but they were able to have children. Okay, that's why you're here. Okay, so now you can also get married, right? And it's been there are many people who have been sort of like married and in the closet, right? And all
Yeah.
the rest of that, right? So
There's also
anyway, look, I don't have much to say about on this issue other than those things. I mean, I don't believe it's genetic, right? I think it's a crime to these people that that they're being told this rather than being told that no, they are. I mean, I remember that guy that he became, the funny thing about it, he was criticizing Islam and the Prophet about pedophilia and stuff like that. And then he got into the scandal where he was in this party where with very young girls and young boys, and after that he became ruined. He's called Milo Yiannopoulos or something. He's a homosexual guy, and he used to speak about and now he's turned the leaf. Apparently, he's become very, very religious, very Christian, very Catholic. I don't know if he's still homosexual, but one of the things he used to talk about is he says, look, every year I try to have relationships with women, because I know people who are they say, right, I wasn't happy before, other people who are homosexual, I wasn't happy before, but I'm not homosexual anymore and I'm happy now, I'm married, I have kids, I'm happy now. So he says I try to do it every once in a while and then I get bored and go back to being with guys. But he used to talk about that, right? Talk about how there are many people that yes, they go through that, and then they can lead. The outlet is there, basically. They can change that. It's not something which is written in stone in their genetics and stuff. So that's basically what I would say in that kind of stuff. I mean, I feel for these people, for people in this predicament. I do feel for them, and also I think it's overblown. That it's like I said, it's a huge issue is made about it. Even for they themselves make it a huge issue for themselves. There's so much more to life than sex, man. Yeah, they don't. There's a lot more that you can achieve, right? There are people who like Tesla. My favorite scientist is probably Tesla, Nikola Tesla, right? He was one of those people who I think completely celibate, right? And just completely on his work and the inventions which he did. He was a absolute genius, right? So there are people who even do that, right? They deliberately celibate and because they focus on things which they find are much more important in their lives. They have much more passion for them, and so they completely get rid of that side of their lives just because they find it a distraction, and they have completely full and fulfilling lives in that kind of way. So though let's say somebody can't change that about themselves. Okay, well, that doesn't mean you can't have a completely amazing, fulfilling life that where you're a huge asset to humanity. Okay, you just have to ignore that part. I mean, you're a human being. You don't have to. You're not an animal where you have to have this has to be a part of you, right? I mean, it takes maybe it takes work, maybe this, whatever. But so that's what I would say.
If someone would counter that and say, okay, well, I could still be, an asset to humanity and do all the great things, even if I was, for example, with someone of the same sex.
Yeah, you can. I'm not saying you can't. Absolutely. Without doubt. And surprise, there'll be lots of homosexuals in Jannah. Right?
Yeah,
Seem to think, no, they're not going to be in Jannah or anything like that. No. There'll be plenty.
Yeah.
Yeah, plenty of LGBT in Jannah. The rainbow will be there, right? The rainbow will be there. It'll be there. I mean, it's about taqwa in the end, right? Okay, yes. إلا اللمم, Quran says, right?
Yeah.
إن تجتنبوا كبائر ما تنهون عنه نكفر عنكم سيئاتكم وندخلكم مدخلا كريما. We mentioned this verse now, right? Right, and we have there's a balance, right, on your qiyamah, you know, من خفت موازينهم من ثقلت موازينهم, right? The good and the bad deeds will be weighed. There are plenty of homosexuals who have more taqwa than imams in mosques.
That's true.
Okay.
That's true.
Plenty, and who have done more for people, who are kinder, who have, you know, their hearts are filled with mercy and compassion for people, you know, will do more genuine good deeds. Who, you know, they would help people. They're muhsinin. They give in charity. They do all of these things, right? So it's not the end of the world, right? So
I was watching this show. What's it called? The Circle. Yeah. It's a new. I mean, it's sort of like those Netflix shows which have been adapted in multiple countries. So the one from the US, I think it was in season 1 or something. They had like a homosexual, and he has been celibate since. He has always been celibate, but anyway, he has like a love for God that I swear to God that I have never seen it in like a Muslim person, like where I've met a Muslim person and really like see like, wow, that guy has love for God. Like, I'm not talking about fear, or I'm not talking about that, or has obedience. No, no, no. I'm talking about like genuine love. Like, and this guy was a homosexual, and he was doing the charity thing, and he was, you know, helping out, doing good, and but his love, like for God, like God is always on his tongue.
Yeah.
I mean, and I found that like just, you know, and he's clear. He says he's gay. He's not like hiding in the closet or something. He says he's gay, and that he's been you know, celibate since you know, since childhood. So but he's like his love, I mean, for God, I found that like incredibly appealing. Like, you know, like his connection to the divine is just, it's absolutely mind-boggling. I couldn't even I couldn't understand that, you know, to be that attached, you know, to God, when you have this thing that that you feel about you, that you know, there's this stigma against it based on religion. Like, there's a taboo based on religion that you feel like, okay, uh, God has forbidden it. It's a crime in the biblical scripture. There's death for people who do it and all that, and Christians are all against it. But yet he's proud that he's gay. He's doing these charity works, and he's only concentrating on the good, and he knows he has God in his heart. I found that like just mind-boggling, just amazing.
Yeah. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Alhamdulillah. People, yeah, exactly. So it's not, people need to, it's blown out of proportion, right? It's blown out of proportion.
Yeah.
The whole thing, like it completely ruins your. The thing about it is because people are looking at it from themselves, right? I think a lot of people are like that, right? So they think they look at themselves like they can't have a relationship with a homosexual person, like a normal relationship, right?
Yeah.
Speak to them, be friends, or all of that. They can't, right?
Yeah,
So they project that onto God, saying that, you know, they think that God can't have a relationship with these people, or these people can't have a relationship with Him. Okay, but you know, God isn't sexual. God doesn't, right? So it's not that's not an issue for Him, right? It's not like you who look at it in this kind of way, and there will be a barrier in how you interact with such people, or see them, or view them, or you know, even the way people speak about like those people, quote unquote, the way people are speaking about it in that kind of way, you know, itself is belays it's sort of like saying that, you know, like they are other, they're not normal, they're not us. You know, they're still us, right?
There's still normal people. There's still
there's still people, exactly. So I think a lot of that is this whole where people start to view in that kind of way, where they they feel in their minds it's strange that a homosexual person could be close to God, or that God could love them, or they have a relationship with them. The fact that that's strange to them is really their projection onto God.
Yeah.
In many ways.
That's what we need to, but anyway. So anyway, I don't want to take too much of your time. So
No, that's cool. That's cool. But yeah, let's end it there. We're coming up to what, 1 hour and 45 minutes. Okay,
yes.
let's end it there. Thanks everybody for joining in today. And again, reminder: anybody can come on and share any insights into any Quranic verses that they like anytime when we're doing these streams. We'll be doing them every 2 weeks from now on, not every weekly like we used to do over the past year. And in a few days, maybe I'll have another stream about the 7 modes of recitation of the Quran, or the 7 ahruf to be more precise. And the hadith about the Quran was revealed upon 7 ahruf. I think this time I sort of talked about that a little bit on this channel, and the whole issue of the Quran preservation and the qira'at and all of that. So I'll probably do a stream about that in a few days, 3 or 4 days maybe. We'll see how it goes. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Rashid, and Assalamu alaikum everybody. Take care and Eid Mubarak to everybody. Salam.